traders, happy Tuesday, Monday the 20th of May. Julius de Campenaar here with a quick free video for the start of the week. I want to dive into what's happening in the consumer discretionary sector for this occasion. We all have seen the breakout in the S&P 500 to the upside. And last week I addressed my concerns related to the sector rotation, which is not really aligning with the strength in the S&P 500. We still see rotation to defensive sectors in the S&P 500, and that simply does not align with a bull market, with an S&P 500 that's going through the roof. And yes, I know we broke out to new highs, and yes, I know that that is a good sign and that is a strong sign, and yes, I know that we're holding up above that level for the time being. But the question is, for how long? And if I look at the current state of sector rotation, then I see a rotation for the consumer discretionary sector that is not really strong. And here's the weekly RRG, and you will find consumer discretionary here inside the lagging quadrant at a negative RRG heading. It's quite the opposite of what's happening in the defensive sectors, especially staples and utilities. Energy to a lesser degree, and healthcare is picking up, but we're focusing on the rotation in consumer discretionary right now. When I bring that to the daily RRG, then it's even worse. Well, it's confirmed, not even worse. It's confirming. What you can see here is that this consumer discretionary tail went into leading and rolled over rapidly and is now pushing into the lagging quadrant, where it's actually starting to confirm the weakness that you saw on that weekly RRG. Taking that to the industries that make up the consumer discretionary sector will give us a little peek inside the sector, inside the consumer discretionary sector. Let's start with the graph of the consumer discretionary sector itself. So here's the weekly one, and you will see how it has not surpassed its all-time high, where the S&P 500 itself already did that. And we just bounced off this resistance level around 1375. And here's the daily chart on the bottom chart, where you can see that a little bit better. And you can see that for the last 5-6 days already, you can see how the chart is rolling over. We all seen the strength in the S&P 500. It's not happening in consumer discretionary, and that's causing the RRG lines, relative strength, to roll over both on the weekly and on the daily, and that causes these confirming tails. When we bring in the industries that make up the sector, we have so here's let me blow that up. Here's the weekly RRG for the industries inside consumer discretionary. And you can see how this is all shifted to the left. So all these industries, all these groups are more or less shifted to the left, which is the negative side of the graph. And most of these tails are rolling over or are already on a negative heading. The one that's standing out, because it's the big solid bubble, means that it has the highest beta, is automobiles, and it's pushing into improving, but look at how far away from the benchmark and at how low readings on the RS ratio scale this is, which makes it very vulnerable for a rotation around inside improving and rolling back down, where it can then join all the other tails. And even the household durables and broadline retail are now at negative headings and moving towards the lagging quadrant. Here also, household durables is one of the most offensive sectors, of one of the most offensive groups, I should say, inside consumer discretionary. If we bring that to the daily RRG, you will see how household durables and automobiles are now rolling over and also at a negative heading. And here's automobiles. So automobile components rolling over, automobiles, the industry as such, already closing in on the lagging quadrant, all these tails moving to the left. So all in all, it's very hard to get a positive reading from the industries inside consumer discretionary. And that's a problem, because it is one of the biggest sectors, the second biggest sector after technology, and a very offensive sector. And for the S&P to really be able to put in a solid rally, I really do believe that we do need consumer discretionary and technology and potentially financials to support such a rally. And it's not there. You've seen the continual rotation into defensive. So I remain cautious. And if you look at consumer discretionary, there's not a lot of goods there, not a lot of strong rotations. If we quickly browse over the individual graphs of the industries inside consumer discretionary sector. So here is specialty retail, way below its high. You can see how the daily it's rallying but already rolling over. Here's broadline retail. We saw that graph rolling over. It's testing its resistance area. Couldn't break it. Here is in more detail on the daily chart. Here is distributors. Again, more sideways. Look at this here. If you 575 is the support here. If that breaks, opens up a lot more downside potential. Diversified consumer services. This is probably the strongest group. It broke out to new highs here, holding up well, and you can now see that it is coming down to test that old resistance as support. But the group is too small to make a real dent in the sector as a whole. So here's hotels, restaurants, and leisure, well below its highs. Apparel and luxury, sideways on the weekly, just slightly itching up on the daily, but not enough. And you can see how the RRG lines are rolling over. Leisure products, same story. Household durables. This is, a sector that broke out here, and it's now trying to rally. But look at how we bounced off that resistance area here. Automobiles, talked about it. Clear downtrend, going back down on the daily. Automobile components, heavy overhead resistance. So all in all, not a lot of good industries, making it very hard for the sector to push through. Negative rotation for the consumer discretionary sector, and that's going to weigh in on the overall performance of the market because this is a really big sector. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the inside of tradinganalysis.com when, together with Todd, I'll be doing a new SIS on Wednesday to feed the Tactical Thursday program and all the other content that we have here on the site. Once again, thank you for watching and hope to be seeing you again next week.